I don't know if you guys had any horror stories, or maybe you accidentally befriended someone who turned out to be very weird, or their family was weird or whatever, and so you just slowly stopped associating with that individual. I had 2 experiences of this. The first one was the first time I went over there, and then I never talked to that person again. I never went to their house ever again. You know, you have school friends, but like they're not friends that you hang out with outside of school. They're just school friends, someone you made friends with in class. And so eventually he's like, hey, do you want to come over and hang out? It was like a Friday, and he was like, yeah, you can come over after school and then you can just spend the night. We'll play video games. So we go over, bring my fucking backpack of stuff. We got pizza. It was a good time. And then we're sitting there and I start to feel some motion down south. I was like, you know, I gotta talk about poop. I was like, I gotta go take a dump. And so I was like, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom? And he was like, oh, you know, tells me where it is, blah, blah, blah. That's it. That's all he shares. Go to the bathroom, walk in, sit down, do my thing. Normally, you know, you reach to the side or somewhere around, there's a stand that holds the toilet paper. And I'm looking around and I'm like, there is none. There is no toilet paper. So then I was like, oh man, maybe they don't have like a stand for it or something. And this was before the times when you could just text your buddy, hey man, there's no toilet paper. I didn't have a phone. This wasn't when phones were normalized quite yet. And fortunately, it was rooms right here. And then the bathroom's like diagonally across. And so, you know, I do the most embarrassing thing ever where you do the waddle, trying to keep things from touching. And I crack the door open and then I like yell into my friend's room and he like sticks his head around and sees me and he's like, what? And he walks over and I was like, hey, there's no toilet paper in here. And he goes, what do you mean? And I was like, there's no toilet paper in here? I don't know if I've never had to explain that to somebody before. And he goes, oh, did you look on the tank of the toilet? And I look over. It's not toilet paper. There's a Tupperware looking thing, a little plastic rectangular bowl of some sort. And so I was like, what the fuck is that? Like where's the toilet paper? And he goes, oh no, it's in there. That's all he says. So I take his word for him. I'm like, okay. So I close the door, lock it, waddle my way back over, lean back and reach in. And then I immediately feel moisture and wetness. And I like, my hand throws back and I was like, what the fuck? What did I just touch? Panicking, right? Because, you know, your toilet paper, dry, right? Paper, dry. Why wet? And so I like look back and there's just a tub with not clear water that I just dipped like one little finger in. Boop. And I am just horrified because in my mind, I'm thinking I know what that is, but I don't want to believe it. And so I'm like, oh my God. So I freak out. And so I waddle over and I wash my hands, immediately panicked, wash my hands. I was like, I don't even want to know. Go back over to the door, open it, call my friend again. He comes over, he's like, what? I'm like, dude, that's not toilet paper. Why is there a wet washcloth in a bowl of water? He's like, that's the, you know, that's the wipe. And so I was like, what does that mean? What do you mean that's the wipe? And he was like, that's what you wipe with. But that's like used, like what and he was like, no, you soak it in the water and clean it off. And I started panicking. I started freaking out because I was like, so you all wipe with this? Everyone uses this. Like, ew, first of all, but like, why don't you guys have your own individual ones? Why does everyone use a communal butt wiping rag, right? Like, what are we doing? And he was like, well, we save on toilet paper. And I think his exact words was, my mom doesn't let us use toilet paper. And he knew what it was because, you know, he went to public school. So I'm sure at school he's like, clean paper or whatever. Okay, I don't want to use that. Like, what else is there? And he goes, I don't know. That's just what we use. Confused as hell. I was like, I guess I'll just have to figure something else out. And then he goes, oh, don't forget. He said, don't forget to cut it up. And I was like about to close the door and I stopped and I opened it and I said, what? Come again? And he said, don't forget to cut it up. And I was like, what does that mean? And he goes, in the bowl, there's a poop knife. And so we cut up the poop so that it's easier on the pipes. And mind you, this knife is just sitting in the water of this communal poopy bowl, right? This communal fecal matter infestation. It's just sitting in there. Part of the handle is in the water. And this is like not a very long knife, right? Part of your hand is gonna touch the poopy water in this bowl. And then when you go to to you know, activate poop knife, your hand is gonna go in the poopy toilet bowl water. I'm like freaking out. What? Like I thought I was in like Amish country or something, you know? So I just like standing there. It was like a long pause. And mind you, I still have my pants at my ankle. I have the door cracked and I'm just talking to this kid. And so I'm like, poop knife, all right, man, okay. And I just closed the door, a little quick existential crisis, because I was like, what am I gonna do? Everything around me, I am now just assuming has poopy fecal specks all over it. I contemplated sacrificing the underwear, sacrificing a rock. A rock? Why did I say rock? I meant to say sock. Ultimately, see, here's the thing. I was only staying for one night, so I didn't bring an extra pair of socks. So then I was like, I could just use my underwear, but then it's weird because I have to, what am I gonna do with it then? Put it in a fucking little baggie, take it home? That's weird. So I did the next best thing. I propped my ass up onto the sink and I just did a little sink bath. Because they didn't have a shower. They only had a bathtub. And I didn't want people to hear the bath start running because then they'd be like, what's he doing in there? You know, I'm socially anxious. I'm awkward. I just wanted no one to know anything. And then probably about 5 straight minutes of washing my hands, just like, and just going ham. I think I almost scrubbed the skin off of my hands. And that was bad enough. Because then I had to think about the fact that everyone there, it was using the same thing. And then I'm like, what did they touch? Are they spreading diseases? So I did the next best thing, started freaking out and crying like I was super sick and not feeling well. And then I was like, I gotta go home. I don't feel very good. I'm getting scared. I don't want to be sick at your house, blah, blah, blah. And then their mom wasn't even like, oh, do you want me to, she just went, that's okay. That's all right. And I started, you ever seen The Visit where the grandparents go crazy? It started to feel a little bit like that. And so I was like, no, I don't want to, faking like a temper tantrum until she called my mom. And then my mom came and picked me up and she was so mad at me telling her, I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. And then I was like, you know, they have a poop knife. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, they have a bowl with a rag in it and a knife and they cut their poop up and they wipe their, and I sounded like a crazy person telling my mom and she did not believe me. And she was like, no one does that. And she just like took me home and she was so upset with me. And so I just sat in my room the rest of the night and contemplated and thought about life in itself. And then I never spoke to that kid ever again. And he would approach me at school and I would just ignore him because I was so uncomfortable with knowing how they exist in their voluntary lives. I was like, you guys are fucking crazy. I don't want anything to do with you guys. You guys chop your poo-poo up in a bowl and wipe your butt with the same rag that everyone else in the house uses. Gross. And that was it.